And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we are both here to give you some sweet information on ways that'll make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money. And we want to say thank you to all of you that tuned in or logged in. We really do appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the CNC Auto Show. We're here to take those phone calls, and that number, 706-863-5800. You can also go to ccautoshow.com, and at that area, you can either send your question to us that way. You can watch the show live, or you can watch past shows there too. But also, it's a great place to learn a lot more about your car, truck, or SUV as you're going through there. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems, and also NGK Spark Plugs, and a lot of other really nice businesses that you'll hear about. And the number again, 706-863-5800. This is your opportunity to, if you've had that little noise in your car, or if you had, we may ask you to make the noise for us, so that's the biggest thing. But or if you're wondering about a service that might be performed, when it was done last, or somebody told you that your car needed something, you're trying to make a decision on whether you should do it or not. Now you have an unbiased opinion. We are not standing in front of your car. We have no dog in the fight, I guess would be the word. So we're absolutely glad to give you an unbiased opinion on that service that you may or may not need. And we have a lot of great car stuff to talk about. And John Ryan, this is going to be a fun show.
All right. What you got planned for us?
This will have to do with car myths.
Okay.
Things that you wonder, that you've heard many times about your car, but you're not sure if it's true or not. So is it fact or is it fiction?
Okay.
And that's what we'll talk about during the show. And someone out there may have one that they have heard about, and they either already know whether it's a fact or fiction because they've tried it or something, or they may be wondering if something is fact or fiction. So give us a call and share that with us, and if it's one that you're wondering about, we will try to let you know if it's fact or if it's fiction.
Like, give them an example of one. You got one on your mind?
Okay, yeah, I do. One example, manual transmission.
Okay.
Does a manual transmission get better gas mileage than a
Automatic
vehicle with an automatic transmission?
I would say it depends on how you drive it. I mean, if you kept
that
it
was
in
my
gear,
exact words.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, that it's how you drive it.
Yeah.
But
because, I mean, if you decided to coast down every single hill in neutral, which isn't that technically illegal from what I remember? There's another one. You can find out.
It coasts. We have to go deep into that.
Yeah, because I think the car's supposed to be under power, basically at all times. That way, if somebody were to pull out in front of you, or, you could go around them.
But, one thing I was thinking now, many years ago, that was big time true.
Yeah.
A manual transmission, without question, would give better gas mileage because an automatic transmission would create a lot more drag as you let off the gas.
Yeah.
But now the way transmissions are built, I mean, you're talking about 6 speeds, 5 speeds, 6 speeds, 10 speeds.
Well, and of course, electronically controlled torque converters really changed it.
So I think with all the modern technology that's built into cars now, I think there's going to be a high probability that automatics can keep up with them, unless you have that special driver with a manual transmission.
And I know another one. Is it fast? Is a manual transmission vehicle faster than an automatic transmission?
Well, it depends on how many gears are in there.
I think it's been proven many times that an automatic's still faster than a manual.
I'll give you an example. My little Miata is not. I mean, that joker, when you're going, I was going like 80 coming here this morning, had the top down, man, I was cruising. 80, and that thing's tacked up to like 4,000 RPMs or over 4,000 RPM. So, no, I don't think it's going to
well, I meant more like for quarter mile, say. To shift through the quarter mile versus an automatic.
Again, I think it depends on the driver.
It does.
You think we should go to the phones?
Yeah, let's go to Ben.
I think that'd be perfect. Hey, Ben, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And could I ask you a real quick question before you you mention what you have?
Of course.
Okay, here's what I have. We have a tech tip quiz today, and we were trying to make a decision on if we should include Dominic, our producer, and let him participate in the Detective Quiz. He does not know the answer without question. He does not. And when we do it, he has never had a shirt. And as a matter of fact, I don't have an I Answer Detective Quiz shirt.
I got 2 of them.
Yeah, John Ryan has won one before, but we're thinking about letting him participate. You think that'd be okay?
Absolutely. I mean, that's like saying, hey, you want to go to the Super Bowl? We'll let you try out to go to the Super Bowl. That's gold. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to let him participate when we do it. Okay, now, what do you have?
Okay, I had heard, and you do some Googling and stuff and don't find a whole lot of actual, cases. But remember the old don't buy a Pinto because if somebody hits you in the back, it'll explode thing?
Yeah.
And that was my mom. She ended up getting a Mustang back when I was younger. I remember she had a Pinto, and everybody made her trade in because of that. I always said, where'd the yellow car go? And, well, somebody hit her, y'all would die, it would explode. I just didn't know what y'all heard about that.
Well, I do know that the Pinto did have that issue.
Yeah.
Yes. The way that their gas tank was positioned on the vehicle, there were incidents to where someone would hit them in the rear and boom, that car would go pow.
And I don't know if y'all remember about 10, maybe 15 years ago, Jeep Grand Cherokees and the regular Cherokees were recalled because of their location as far as the gas tank. It was all the way at the very back. And you know what their fix was? Do you remember this, Aaron? They installed free trailer hitches. They installed trailer hitches on them.
Yeah. And I remember the Chevrolet trucks had that issue with a side impact gas tank exploding.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We had to put a sticker on the trailer hitches that said not for trailer hitch use, unless you wanted to pay extra to have it wired up.
That's right. Yep.
It was just, sure was.
Yeah, and then they still had some problems, so they gave people a boat to hook to them.
Right.
That worked.
Now you'll be safe.
That's right.
Or a trailer on there. But yeah, that one, the Pinto deal was a fact that they did have the issue with that, and I tell you, safety type items like that over the years has really done many cars in. I remember,
because sometimes you think back, think about the old C10 pickups that the gas tank was literally right behind you.
Yeah. And the Corvair, that's what really led to its demise because of how it reacted in an accident.
Yeah.
So yes, that one is a fact. And Ben, thank you for sharing that one. That's a great way to kick off the show.
I appreciate y'all. I mean, good job. I heard y'all all over the world now. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. We're in a few places, not quite there all over the world, but we're in a few places. And thank you very much.
Bye, buddy.
Okay, John Ryan, we will can we throw this tech tip quiz out real quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
that way Chris can think about it over the break.
Yeah, I think it would be a real good idea. And, of course, the winner will win that all the beautiful prizes that they have in there. And I'm trying to get to my paper in there. Okay, but Dominic will be eligible for this particular one. Okay, here it is. Authorities are reasonably sure that there's going to be a horrific collision in the future involving a very expensive sports car. They expect it almost wrecked several times before the terrible collision occurs.
Okay.
But they can't do anything about it. Why? So if someone has the answer to that, and again, Dominic is eligible to win because he does not know the answer, but everyone else is eligible also. So the question is, will someone else get the answer to it before Dominic does? So give us a call, and as soon as we return to the phones, we'll be going to Chris, and we will be right back after these messages.
Thought twice before I hauled a Barbie doll bed for the girl next door. She tried to pay me with a kiss, and I began to understand there's something women like about a pickup man.
you have questions about your car, just give us a call, 706-863-5800. You just lay us on us. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. And also, if you have a question, you can also go to ccautoshow.com and send your questions there, watch the show, or a lot of other things. And also, we have a tech tip quiz laying on the table, and we have Chris that we'll be talking about. I do want to mention, though, that if you plan to make a trip in the coming before school's goes back in or things like that, be sure to check those belts and hoses and look real close at them. If they feel mushy or cracky or anything like that, and you think you should, have them replaced, because you don't want to be on the side of the road with a messed up hose or belt.
No, you don't want
and
that.
if you get belts and hoses, I recommend Napa hoses and belts. They are absolutely fantastic. They fit, they last a long time. Great products. And John Ryan,
It's Chris's turn. You ready?
I think we promised him, didn't we?
We did.
Hey, Chris, welcome to the show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning. I just had one about your fact or myth. Is it true once you go to synthetic oil that you can't go back to the regular?
As far as you, like, if you could or can, it's definitely like frowned upon. I wouldn't recommend it. They say that if you do switch to synthetic, continue with synthetic. Now, if you're on the side of the road and needed a quart, yes, you could put a regular conventional quart in there. But just like the manuals say, go back to full synthetic after, as quickly as possible, basically your next oil change.
Yeah, and I think you can if you want to. Like John Ryan mentioned, it's just not something you'd want to do over and over again.
I reckon my next question would be, like, if you're buying a used car, how would you know whether they might have tried the synthetic one time and then say, well, I don't want to pay for the synthetic this time. I'm just going to use the regular.
Yeah, and a lot of it would have to do with your driving habits. If you tend to skip oil changes, or if you drive a lot of high RPMs or pull a boat or pull a trailer, you might want to continue on with a full synthetic. And even if you didn't know if they used it or not, but then when you buy the vehicle, you pick the oil. If you don't know what they were using before, you pick the type oil that you feel like would best fit your driving practices,
and stick
with it after that. Because again, it's not a big deal to switch one time every so often. You don't want to go back and forth is the biggest thing.
Okay.
And keep in mind, more and more cars now are calling for full synthetic from the factory. And what I always tell people is, if the factory calls for it and it's in your owner's manual, use full synthetic, do that. If it doesn't call for it, unless you're driving under some unusual circumstances, you're fine using the semi-synthetic.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot.
And great question, and we appreciate it. Now, I don't know whether to call that one fact or fiction. Semi?
I would say semi.
Okay, I'm there with you. Okay, where we're going?
All right, let's go to John.
Hey, John, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and I see that you may have a tech tip quiz. Do you plan to beat Dominic with to the tech tip quiz answer?
I think so.
Okay, well, here we go. We're going to need to put you on stage. Okay, now he's going to be very upset because he really wanted one of those shirts. But what is the answer to our tech tip quiz?
Well, I'm going to say that car has not, has not left the factory. It's in the lab and doing crash tests on it.
Whoa, it's not a bad thought. That's something I didn't think about. Now, John, that's not right. But see, the only place that makes it that one wouldn't be right is because that is something that they could stop if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they could say, well, he's going to have a collision, but let's don't do that. So that one's not quite there. I will tell you that Dominic had sweat on his forehead just now, worried that somebody was going to answer it before he gets it.
And he's got two keyboards doing research.
Yeah, he's got his keyboards going. John, thank you very much.
Okay, enjoy the program.
Well, thank you. We enjoy you listening. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, that's 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time.
Let's see if we can squeeze Steve in real quick.
I think that'd be a great idea. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, guys. I got the answer for your tech tip question.
Wait, we need to put you on stage. Okay. What is the answer to today's tech tip quiz?
Well, you guys are talking about Elon Musk's car that he launched into space that's going to collide with Mars.
Now, wait a minute. Now, could that be possible that would be the answer to, well, actually, they're saying now it may collide with Earth. But you are absolutely right. Steve, the car belonged to Elon Musk. Elon sent his $100,000 red convertible. I imagine if you had it here today, it'd be worth millions.
Yeah.
But he sent the convertible roadster into space as he was testing his SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket on February 6, 2018. And the top's down. The mannequin in the spacesuit is named Starman, and he's at the wheel. And it's suspected to make several near misses before hitting Earth. Now, they can't really do anything about it right now because it's not supposed to happen for tens of millions of years. So that you are the winner of today's Tech Tip quiz. All right. Steve, if you'll hold on the line, they'll get your information, and we appreciate you answering our Tech Tip quiz today. Okay, we're talking about facts or fiction on different cars.
It's time for a break.
Oh, it is time for a break. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
And we do want to welcome you back to the CNC Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you give us a call. That's between 8:05 and 10 Eastern Time. That's any Saturday morning from anywhere that you might be. Again, 706-863-5800. We're talking about facts and fiction here, so we have a lot of other things that we'll be mentioning. And, of course, if someone out there has something that they're wondering is fact or fiction, you give us a call. But now it is time for what, John Ryan?
Is it time for Tailgate Talk?
Tailgate Talk, absolutely. Let's put them out there.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Dominic, do you have a Tailgate Talk for us?
I do. Okay. And for starters, I did do some research into the coasting in neutral issue.
Yeah.
As far as where it falls on a legal standpoint. And in the state of Georgia, it is illegal to coast downhill in neutral, according to the state vehicle code. And
all I can say is prove it.
Yeah.
Like how do you know when they're coasting?
So now, let me get this right. Now, you're not supposed to have a cell phone in your lap or anywhere near you, and you'll kind of glance down at that. You can't be in neutral. They're going to need to have cameras in the cars to write the tickets for all of this stuff.
Or biochips implanted.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
Aaron one got his put in last week.
Yeah, the Starman had one implanted in him. It's in the red convertible.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our Tailgate Talk.
No, I had something else planned.
Well, we're ready. What you got?
There was a Ford F-150 pickup truck that was weaving in and out of traffic in South Carolina this past week, and the driver was an elderly gentleman, and the police officer that was trying to pull him over noticed that it looked like he was having some sort of cardiac arrest or some sort of issue where he was not breathing and unconscious. And it got to the point where the truck was going so slow that they actually got out and tried to chase him down on foot.
Wow. Well, did they find out what was wrong?
Yeah, he had a cardiac episode, and they took him to the hospital.
Wow. So the person chased down the F-150. That's our Tailgate Talk. Okay, now we've had talk, and now it is time to go talk to who?
It looks like Jeff's next up.
Let's talk to Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the show, and what can we help you with?
About an MR2 I have.
Yes.
And, told you how the transmission was messing up and all, but, I fixed it with a battery problem, but now I have an issue with it going and shifting like into overdrive and all. And mechanic told me to put some of that hard shifting transmission stuff in there, and I did that. And now it's, I can drive it one day and it just shifts fine, and then next day it wants to go in a lower gear the whole time, like fourth gear or whatever it is on that vehicle, and it never makes it into overdrive, and it's, it's still hard shifting when it does go into overdrive. And I just want to know, could it be a solenoid problem in it?
It definitely could be a solenoid problem, but there's a few things that that kind of make that transmission shift as far as what they would call as inputs. For instance, is the check engine light on or anything like that?
Yeah, it comes off and on.
Okay. There's things.
A couple mornings when I drove it, it never come on and it shifted fine. And y'all guys told me, as long as it's running fine and the check engine light comes on, don't bother, leave it alone.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because I was just curious, when the check engine light's on, does it shift hard?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so the two are probably tied together.
It's going to do it, yeah.
Right. So the reason I say that is when the check engine light's on, it could have something, for instance, like a TP voltage code in there. And what the throttle position, that's TP sensor, throttle position sensor, if it's reading incorrectly, that's how that transmission kind of bases its load. Of course, it does have a mass airflow sensor too. I think 86 did. But anyway, so it detects the load, so it could shift. Say if the TP sensor was reading high, it was reading like, say, 4 volts. That normally means it's about 3/4 throttle. So, of course, the transmission is going to shift very, very hard. And then the scenario that you said, sometimes it doesn't shift into final drive or overdrive. If the TP sensor is reading very low, it wouldn't do that either. That, if I'm not mistaken, that has the old vane style, with the little flap as far as the mass airflow sensor. So, the sensor could be reading a lower volume of incoming air, causing it to, think the load's a lot lighter, like you're not giving it as much throttle. There's several different sensors that are all inputs to how that transmission shifts. At least knowing what code is in the check engine light would definitely give us kind of an idea.
And your clue lies in that code.
Yep, it does.
That'll tell you, which direction to look. More than likely, that will lead you at least in the right direction. But do keep in mind now, so many times people will check their code and they'll say, well, it's a code for a throttle position sensor. So automatically they just replace the throttle position sensor. Well, that's not that much on that particular car, but sometimes someone will go, it'll give a code for something.
Give a newer example, say an air-fuel ratio that's $400.
Somebody might spend $300 or $400 on something just because it has a code. When you have a part like that, once you pass that point that you have a code and it's an expensive part, many times I wouldn't just automatically replace it. I would have some diagnostic tests run, because that's the trap that people get caught in.
The parts cannon.
Yeah, they'll spend $400 on this instead of getting diagnostics. So they'll say, oh, that didn't fix it. Now I don't want to go pay diagnostics because I didn't spend $400. So they'll put something else.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they got $2,000 tied up in parts and the car's still not running. So
and it's a loose ground.
Yeah. Now the exception to that is maintenance items. Like if the car needs a maintenance tune-up or
that's all money well spent.
Or even an O2 sensor eventually wears, you're going to have money well spent. But I would use my judgment. In other words, don't go overboard buying parts without diagnostics.
Right. Well, the guy told me, because my car is so old that you can't use a
scan tool
whatever
on
you
it.
call that analysis machine on it. You have to count the dots.
Right.
So I was just wondering that. But
yeah, that is the older way of course. Doesn't it have the T1 connector? Remember that?
Yeah, you got to jump some wires and watch the light blink. But you could have fun doing that.
Loads.
You just have to be patient, get a book, and be real patient, and you could do it. It sounds like you enjoy working on it a little bit yourself. So it might, if you get all the information, I believe you could do that.
Yeah, it was my dad's car, and I'm trying to keep it running.
Yeah.
He's dead now from cancer, but I got one more question. I don't want to burn my wife's back, and I'm giving her breakfast in bed. So anyway, I got a 2012 Dodge Ram, and my backup camera's not working half the time, and now it's not working at all, but I could slam the tailgate just right, and it would work.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I open the tailgate, it happens again. So
yes, I have to
any
slam it again.
suggestions on that where I need to look where the problem is?
Jeff, those cameras, they don't really have a high failure rate. We have seen where the wires go from the tailgate to the bed of the truck because they bend, obviously, every time you open and close that tailgate. We've seen wires that the copper will actually break inside the insulation. So if you were to look at the wire, they look perfect. They're all intact, no abrasions or anything like that. But if you actually pull slightly on the wire, it's almost like a rubber band. The wire extends. Because, of course, the copper strands inside the wire have broken. So I'd look real close in that area.
You may be able to get one person to sit inside the truck with the camera on and another person out there to wiggle the wires.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's in the jam, though.
Yeah, you'll have to kind of hold it just enough open to still be able to get in there.
Right.
You might have to take some stuff off. But
all right.
But it's worth a shot.
Try that thing.
Now, just real quick, what are you cooking your breakfast for your wife? I mean, what are you cooking?
Bacon, eggs, toast, and then some gravy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I've been married 32 years, guys.
I'd say that would do it.
We'll be there on the next commercial break.
That's my mechanic tip for today. Okay. Keep the wife happy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Well, Jeff, thank you very much. Great questions, and we do appreciate your call.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, the number to call is 706-863-5800, and that's if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV. You just give us a call, and we will give one more real quick tip that we'll talk about more after the break, but this will give everyone a chance to think about it a little bit.
What you got?
Does premium gas actually give you better fuel mileage, or does it keep your engine cleaner? Is it good to use?
Okay.
So that is is that a myth or is that a fact?
Okay.
Fact or fiction? Okay, and if you have a question, give us a call, and we're going to take a real quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
She's real fine, my 409. She's real fine, my 409, my 409.
Welcome back to the CNC Auto Show, and if you have a gas engine, you have spark plugs. If you have spark plugs, they'll eventually need to be replaced. I recommend that you replace those plugs along with other recommended services at the recommended time, and I recommend NGK spark plugs from Napa Auto Parts. They're designed to give you the performance needed in modern cars, and they last. That's NGK spark plugs from Napa. Okay, we were talking about premium fuel.
Yeah.
And the question is, does premium fuel give you better fuel mileage? Does premium fuel burn cleaner? Is there a big benefit to?
I think there's a lot of different answers for this, mainly because it depends. I'll just give my first example. Like if you had a vehicle that required 93 octane and you put 87 octane in it, yes, it's going to get lower fuel economy. But if you had a vehicle that required 87, you put 93 in it, I don't know that you'd get that much better fuel economy.
You don't get any benefit, really.
Right. Yeah, but maybe, I mean, I think the detergents are the same as far as I know. It's just really the actual, what is it, flash rate or whatever the technical term is.
It's the octane level, the ability of the fuel to burn, explode at different temperatures.
Right.
In cases that don't burn cleaner. In other words, you don't get any benefit by putting premium in a vehicle that does not call for premium.
But the other way around is a little bit different scenario.
Yeah, if you have a vehicle that calls for premium and you put 87 octane in it,
may spark
then
knock.
What happens is the engine will spark knock, but you won't hear it. The microphones,
pull the timing back.
They call them knock sensors, will hear it, and what they are is tiny microphones that sense spark knock, and it'll start lowering the timing. Lower timing means worse fuel mileage, so you do lose fuel mileage. So if your car calls for premium fuel, I would use premium fuel. If it does not, you're actually wasting money to put premium fuel in a car that doesn't call for it. Now, if it does seem to run better with a car, if you run it, then you have a problem.
Yeah, you got a problem.
You got carbon buildup, or you have an EGR system that's not right. All you are is offsetting it with the different fuel. Okay.
I like it.
I do too. I think that was good.
All right, let's go to Tony.
Hey, Tony, welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, gentlemen. I've got a Ford Flex, and yesterday I was driving through the mountains of North Carolina, and coming down the mountains, you just sort of, riding the brakes and tapping the brakes and all that kind of stuff, and my brakes started wobbling or vibrating real bad, feeling it in the wheels, feeling it in the steering wheel. Evidently my rotors were getting warmed up or something or heated up, and it was causing that problem, because when I got out of the mountains and the rest of the ride home, no problems. I'm driving around town this morning here in Augusta and Evans, and I'm not having any brake problems. What could that be?
Tony, there's a technical term, I believe it's heat deflection, that can cause that, and it is just what you said. Of course, the rotors get out around. The only thing that I worry about is I'm assuming that obviously driving here in town's a lot different speed range than the mountains, I would imagine. So, typically once the rotors kind of warp and they get that heat build up in it and all that kind of stuff, they normally, of course, warp and the pulsation remains. It's just you feel it at a higher speed versus a lower speed like you're driving now.
And I was going to mention one other thing that I've run into before, and I know this sounds strange, and I know that it does not seem like it would feel like a brake pulsation. But I have felt that before, Tony, on vehicles when the brake fluid was starting to boil. Brake fluid has a boiling point, and, of course, some European cars have a very, very high boiling point, and other cars have a certain amount. Well, brake fluid is hygroscopic. It will attract moisture. When a certain amount of moisture gets in there and you get hot enough, it'll start to boil.
Right.
And what's odd is it feels similar to that before the pedal goes completely out. Eventually, when the brake fluid gets hot enough and it really starts to boil good, the pedal will go to the floor. Now, I have felt that feeling before, and actually it was on a vehicle that the brakes were starting to lock down because the caliper was stuck. So it kind of amazed me that it felt a lot like a rotor pulsation, also. So I would say one of those two things.
The only other thing I was going to add to that, Tony, something that can really either make that problem, come about or make it worse is wheel torque. If the vehicle's wheels aren't torqued properly, say if it calls for 100 foot-pounds and they're all torqued to 140, when the heat builds up in that rotor, the rotor is going to be more, susceptible to the warpage, because of course it's going to flex because it's over torqued, because it's mated to the wheel hub. So that's another thing that can cause that too. Kind of after the fact, obviously, because it's already happened, but it would be interesting to see if it does still have a pulsation. I don't know, maybe if you have some time this weekend, get it out on the interstate and kind of get the brakes back up, to the normal heat range, use them a handful of times and see if you still have it.
Now, Tony, what we would like for you to do first is let's have a brake system total fluid exchange, brake flush, and then drive it back to North Carolina under the exact same circumstances, and then see if it does it. If it does, then come back and retorque the wheels and go up there again and drive back.
Okay. Well, oddly enough, I will be back up there again this coming weekend, so that's not too far out of mind.
Right.
But let me, and then I've got a myth question. Let's go back to the rotors. So, is there a cure for that? I mean, do they make heavy-duty rotors that would stop that from happening?
They do.
I've never had this happen on a vehicle.
Right, they do definitely make heavy-duty rotors, but the thing is, a rotor is actually a wearable item. It has a maximum thickness, which of course would be brand new. They're, say 22 millimeters thick, and as they wear, just like the brake pads, normally you can get about 2 brake jobs out of one set of rotors. As they wear, they become thinner and thinner and thinner, and then the reason they're thinner is because, of course, obviously the friction, but what happens is now you don't have that meat left on the rotor so that they can deflect easier and, of course, warp.
Okay.
The one question I did have for you was, where did it feel like it was coming from? Was it more in your seat or more in the steering wheel?
It felt like it was more in the steering wheel.
Okay. So that would typically, and of course there's ways to find this out as far as, if you had it on a lift rack, but that would typically mean that the fronts are starting to deflect. How many miles are on the vehicle?
$95,000.
And have you had brakes done before?
I have not. I'm a second owner. I just bought this back in February or March, I think it was.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure when this is the last time it had to do a brake service.
Okay. And do you know the condition of the brakes that are on it now, as far as thickness and whatnot?
Yeah, as of now, they're fine.
Okay.
Last time I had my oil changed and tires rotated, I always have them
Check
checked out,
them.
and
Yeah.
the pads are fine. I'm not sure if they mic the rotors or not.
Right.
But the
Yeah,
pads
that'd
are
be,
fine.
it wouldn't be a bad idea just to, have a brake check before you go on your next trip. And you never know, they might find the rotors, 20 thousandths below spec, or, maybe somebody did do a brake job on it, 2 times before this. And of course, never replaced the rotors, or maybe even didn't even machine them.
And
Right,
Tony, if
right.
you don't do my part about the brake flush, just keep your eye open. You know those little dirt roads,
Runoffs?
the runoffs that they have. Keep your eyes open for those.
You're going to tell them that instead of the emergency brake trick?
All right, so my myth question, years ago, cars had drum brakes, and I just had an experience with a 94 Jeep Grand Cherokee that had some drum brakes. But my question was this. I always heard that after you do your brake job, and then you're supposed to put it in reverse and go backwards and hit the brakes, and put it in the reverse and go backwards and hit the brakes, and that's supposed to, adjust them.
Yep.
Is that true?
It is true.
Yeah, on most cars that is a fact. Now some use the emergency
That's what I
brake.
was going to say. Some you can actually actuate the emergency brake, and it has a little ratcheting paw that catches the adjuster and, of course, adjusts them out too.
And just going a step further, Tony, even when you hadn't had brakes done on the car, if you have a vehicle with drum brakes, it's a good idea to do that from time to time anyway, and it just keeps them in adjustment. And also, if you're not sure which one, it's just as easy to hit the emergency brake and hit the brakes a few times when you back up every now and then you take care of it. So, great question, and that one is fact.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate the call. And the number to call, 706-863-5800. We are talking about facts or fiction. John Ryan, we have one that is that we may let the next caller share into this question. I know they're on the line listening. So the question is, well, does a dirty car get worse gas mileage than a clean car?
I think there's a little shade of gray to that. I mean, it depends. Like, if we're talking about a truck that's got 25 pounds of mud on it, yeah, it gets worse fuel economy. But.
Let's ask Russ real quick.
All right.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, how y'all? Yeah, I think a dirty car does get worse gas mileage.
Hey, Russ, I made a mistake. We have to close, and can you call back on the second hour if you would, please?
Yeah, will do.
Okay. Talk to you shortly. We'll be back with more CNC Auto Show. And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show. And I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And our goal is to give you some information that'll make your car, truck, or SUV safer and to make it more dependable. And that, in effect, will make it last longer.
Yep.
So you just give us a call. We want to say thank you to all of you that tuned in or logged in. We really do appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the CNC Auto Show. We appreciate you standing there, letting us pick you up.
Yeah.
Because we're ready. We're here to take those phone calls also. That number, 706-863-5800. You can also go to ccautoshow.com and send an email that way. You can watch the show live. You can learn more about your car, find a technician near you, just all kind of really neat stuff. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. They are great products, and also it's brought to you by a lot of other great businesses that you'll hear about more during the show. Again, number 706-863-5800. Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And we have a great show set up. This show is Fact or Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about different things that you may have heard over the years that many times may be may be true, or you may have heard it and you've been doing it and you've been wasting your time, basically, and money. And with that, we did have a question, an email question that we did not get the opportunity to read. Now, we covered the subject just a little bit, but I think it would be a good idea if we went ahead and read the email real quick. Dominic, what is the email?
This email comes from Mary in Lincolnton, Georgia. She has a 2008 Infiniti Q56, which actually I think I remember she's got a QX56. I think she might have missed a letter in the email there. That car recommends Octane 92 gasoline in it. And she was asking what happens if she puts Octane 87 in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we did discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, we have on some shows before. And one of the biggest things is if your vehicle calls for that, that means typically it means that your compression ratio is a little bit higher. Normally, I guess you could say a higher end engine also. And it's kind of designed around that octane rating. So, of course, it would affect it in the sense that you could get some spark knock or detonation.
You wouldn't hear it.
Yep, you wouldn't
in most
hear
cases, but the computer would hear it.
The computer would hear it and pull timing back, which gives it a little less power and kind of puts it in a different, not necessarily mode, but a different feeling as far as power. And, of course, as a result, will affect the fuel economy. Yes. So if your vehicle calls for it, definitely recommend going with that as the minimum. Now, if your vehicle called for 87, you put 93, that's completely
waste of money.
Waste of money. So, so, yes, stick with the manufacturer's octane rating.
And we do appreciate the question. Okay, and we do have a tech tip quiz. Okay, here is the question that we have, and of course the winner will receive a prize package that includes the I Answered the CNC Auto Show golf shirt, coffee mug, a lot of other little things in there. Okay, here's the question. The fire chief of Lexington, Kentucky had a Ford Crown Vic that had an unusual problem. It would run hot when driving slowly through neighborhoods. It did well at idle and above 40. One day, in an effort to save a cat from a fire, one of his men threw a cat out of a 2-story burning building. The fire chief ran over to catch the cat to keep it from landing on his hood. He saved the cat and discovered what was wrong with his car at the same time.
Right then.
So, yeah, if you know the answer to our Tech Tip quiz, you can give us a call. And again, that number is 706-863-5800. Okay, another item that we were getting ready to talk a little bit more about as we were closing out the last hour. And that had to do with does a dirty car get worse fuel mileage than a clean car?
Yeah, I think it just depends on how dirty it is. If it's an old muddy farm truck with 40 pounds of mud on it, yeah, it's going to get worse economy.
You're not really monitoring your fuel mileage that close.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
true.
Right?
What do you think?
Well, I think without question it does. Now, to what degree, I don't know, but there's no question. Clean cars are more efficient than dirty ones
because
more
aerodynamic too.
Yeah, you have less drag.
Yeah.
If a car's got plenty of wax on it and it's
slick.
And you're going through the air, it's the air flows much smoother.
Right.
And less drag means less drag means better fuel mileage.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because less energy is being exerted by the engine to do that.
To push it, yeah.
And, of course, working with airplanes, drag is huge. Anything that you're working with that has to do with drag is you see how the two work together so closely with the power and the drag on going there. So that one is a fact that a clean car does get better fuel mileage. And actually, wait a minute. This study was done, I believe, by the Mythbusters, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, as it turns out, it's 10%. It creates 10% more drag than a clean car.
Wow.
So there is a difference without question. So, again, if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you give us a call. That number is 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And we will be ready to answer your automotive questions. Okay, one of the things that we had is, does a Prius, which one would be better, a Prius Does it give less mileage than a BMW is the question.
What do you mean less mileage?
Fuel mileage.
Oh, fuel mileage.
Does a Prius get better fuel mileage than or less fuel mileage than a BMW?
Depends which BMW.
Is Aaron driving the Prius?
Yeah. Well, what we have under that's true. Now that would be a sticking point. Under certain conditions, the M3 does end up being more efficient than the hybrid, and that's under certain conditions. And a lot of that has to do with the number of speeds that the engine has.
I was thinking of the all-electric BMW. I thought it was a trick question.
No, not all electric.
Gotcha.
But if you'll be driving on public roads, the Prius would be your best bet if you're looking to save money on fuel.
Okay.
So it depends on your driving habits, and I think that's the case many, many times on whether you should get a hybrid or there's some very, very efficient gas models that you have out there that actually in many cases cost less money.
Something that's always been funny to me, because you've talked about it, my dad's talked about it, like no doubt there's a lot of vehicles that are just regular naturally aspirated that get very good fuel economy, but he's always told me, I think you've mentioned that in the 80s some of the Volkswagens were getting up to 40 and 42, like the little Rabbit and stuff like that.
Yeah, there a lot of them now. Of course, they were no good.
Really? They weren't very good?
No, they would. Those cars, a lot of them would get very good fuel mileage, but they would tear up on a regular basis. Now, also, a lot of that had to do, you didn't have the same emission controls that you have now.
Yeah.
So the cars now with the new technology, you not only get great fuel mileage, you have great emissions standards, and so many other things that are there.
Yeah.
And they last a long time.
Now, would that same Rabbit like that I just mentioned, would that still have AC and stuff like that?
Yeah, they did have AC, but the problem that you had many, many years ago is it was so much harder to make a smaller engine because you figure that you had this small engine, everything was fine if it was set up. Well, if you cut the AC on, you had to have some method of speeding it up considerably because the engine was so small, the air conditioning system would put a heavy load on it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, with computer controls, you're able to do things like control the AC, and you're able to control the idle to bump it up when it comes on, cooling fans, a lot of other things. Okay, it's time to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll cover more fact or fiction, and look for your questions, 706-863-5800, Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. We'll be right back after these messages.
Son, short bed Ford, my uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right, cause the engine was smoking.
And we are back with you on the CNC Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, or you have a myth that you are wondering if it's fact or fiction, you give us a call and we will try to help you answer that or answer your question. And again, that number 706-863-5800. Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And EPA economy figures for vehicles, are they accurate?
I think they're probably accurate, but I think they take every testing precaution to make them favor the numbers.
Yeah.
It might be all downhill.
Yeah, they might wait until the temperature is just right.
Right.
And like you mentioned, get a long down slope to read it.
Yeah.
I think they're more so now than they used to be. I think that there was a time to where the car manufacturers was just putting almost impossible numbers out there.
Right.
But I will mention that one thing that they do is, and this kind of goes hand in hand with having cars repaired or programming done. Many times in an effort to meet standards or get the best mileage that they can to have it listed,
right,
they'll have a lot of things in the computer system that will make it run very, very lean and designed to get good fuel mileage so that they can have that listing.
Yeah.
But then the car has drivability issues
later,
especially after it's on the road just a little bit. And so that's why many times, many fixes for certain problems have to do with not replacing a part,
reflashing,
but it may be to reflash the computer.
Yeah.
and have that redone.
And then it fattens the fuel trims up, and then it gets half the fuel economy it was getting.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it may not get the same fuel mileage, but the drivability issue is gone. So they kind of have the best of both worlds. You had a good fuel mileage listing, buy the car, and then after that, you have to have it reprogrammed.
You're stuck with it,
and it may not do as well. Now, I don't know of any really extreme cases of that where it kind of brings it way, way down, but it does
bring
it down
Volkswagen
sometimes.
Extreme case?
Yeah. That is true. Now, the Volkswagens did have an issue with the where they were fudging.
They had two different modes,
greatly on the emission testing that they had on the vehicles. Okay, so that one, I would say that part of it, they are
There's a little
accurate.
shade of gray to that one.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, we'll add just a little bit of shade of gray in there. All right, now something that I have I've wanted to talk about for a while that we have not had the opportunity to do this yet, but I think it's something that's important for people to know that right now in our country, we are experiencing a technician shortage.
Big time.
And when we say technician shortage, I lean towards saying it is a shortage of good, highly skilled automotive technicians.
Yeah.
The cars now, they're a lot more complex than they used to be. You pretty much have a rolling computer. With great comfort involved, great heating and air conditioning, comfort
finish,
system,
the whole 9 yards.
You have Wi-Fi. You have you have the vehicles. In some cases, even talk to each other. You have all types
Collision
of radar,
avoidance,
lidar,
blind spot. Yeah.
You have all of these things on here, and technicians have to work on those, or someone has to repair them, because what's happening is people are keeping their cars longer than ever before.
Right.
Now, it is true that the quality of the vehicles are better than they've ever been, but the number of technicians that fill these slots is not keeping pace
with
even
the
with the part having to do with the vehicles being made better.
Yeah.
So what they're looking at, there says an average of 76,000 technicians are needed each year between 2016 and 2026, and that's both to replace those technicians that are retiring or leaving the industry, and to fill 46,000 projected new openings. So that's going to be a problem.
It is.
I
for
mean,
sure.
there may come a time it may be a little bit more.
And we're kind of just unfortunately seeing the beginning of it.
Yes, we are. We don't have enough people coming into the industry.
Yeah.
Like
you said, if they are, they're more on the level of, changing parts rather than diagnosing parts.
Right. And that's one of the biggest things. You have to have technicians there that can actually diagnose computer problems and network problems across the car, because some of the cars have 60, 80 computers on board that have to talk to each other.
Very strong in the electronic side of the vehicles and how the things work.
And just plain being able to diagnose cars. Yeah. And it's a good field. It's a very good field to be in. And I think that people make a very good living. Now it's not easy at times, because you're working on computer systems while you're upside down.
But I mean, construction work's not easy either.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that's not easy. But it can be a very, very rewarding field. So I want to encourage anyone that may be thinking about what field to go into, consider the automotive industry, because and not to mention with that repairing vehicles, but also there's a lot of other fields in the industry. Also, you have
especially if you enjoy vehicles and kind of the technology in vehicles, because that's one of the neatest things about the job is you drive a different car, multiple different cars every day. So it's neat to test drive what's out.
Yeah, and that's on the technician side, and that is absolutely true. But as a matter of fact, I'll go as far as saying that if you just about have to have a love of cars,
you would have to
go into any of the fields in the automotive industry, and that includes service advisor work,
parts, everything.
That also includes parts. That includes all of the other things that you do in the automotive industry.
The automotive industry.
So yes. So that's something I did want to get the opportunity to mention. That it is here. There is a technician
shortage. It's safe to say it's everywhere, really.
In the U.S. In my opinion, we need to get our schools. They need to support the automotive schools,
right?
Tech schools that they have, so that we can train technicians. So many of those schools across the country are not getting the support that they need financially. And in the people that are working on these cars are the ones that are going to keep America rolling in
Running
the cars.
and rolling, yeah.
Because you can have all the products that you have, but if you don't get them from one place to another, there's going to be a problem. Okay, it's time to take a real quick break, and when we return, we will have the tailgate talk. That and more as soon as we return with the CNC Auto Show.
Cobra, don't you know you're gonna shut them down? I took my Cobra down to the track, hitched to the back of my Cadillac. Everyone was there just waiting for me. There were plenty.
And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show. If you got a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you can give us a call, and that number is 706-863-5800. If you have a question, also, you can send an email. Just go to ccautoshow.com. You can send an email. You can watch the show live. You can also watch past shows, learn more about your car, find technicians. A lot of neat things at that. Now, one of the things that we do this time of the show is we have a tailgate talk. Dominic, do you have a tailgate talk for us?
I do. And oh, sorry, I forgot to wait for the cue there.
All right, here we go.
Unfortunately, this is not a happy tailgate talk. The automotive industry has lost one of the great titans of the modern age with Sergio Marchionne, the former CEO of Fiat Chrysler. He passed away this past week after complications from a shoulder surgery that he had. And he had turned both Fiat and Chrysler around into the 7th largest automaker in the world.
Wow.
Amazing. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's some amazing history behind the automotive industry.
Yeah, there is.
About how so many things happened in the early years. Henry Ford and all the others that did so many things, and he
really
was
neat
right.
Story.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat stories there. So we'll miss him, and we appreciate all the things that he did for the automotive industry.
We do.
And we appreciate your tailgate talk. Okay.
No, thank you.
All right. One of the things that we're talking about during the show has to do with fact or fiction. We also have a tech tip quiz laying on the table, which we may go ahead and mention that the tech tip quiz again real quick. The fire chief of Lexington, Kentucky, had a Ford Crown Vic that had an unusual problem. It would run hot when driving slowly through neighborhoods. It did well at idle and above 40. One day, in an effort to save a cat from a fire, one of his men threw a cat out of a 2-story building so the cat wouldn't burn, because the fireman had the suit on and he was doing okay. All right, the fire chief ran over to catch the cat to keep it from landing on his hood, and he saved the cat and discovered what was wrong with his car all at the same time. So if you know the answer to our tech tip quiz, you give us a call and you can win all that nice prize package. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you can give us a call, 706-863-5800. And we are talking about things that are fact or fiction. And one thing, this is a question for a lot of people. I know a lot of people is going to be wondering about this one. Do red cars get more tickets?
I think I've heard that before, that they definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
I would, of course, I'm just guessing, but I would say so, yes.
Okay. The fact of it is, that's a myth.
Really?
Yeah. That's a myth. A study conducted by Quality Planning found out that the color didn't play any part in the likelihood of you getting a ticket.
See, my logic behind it is, typically if you go buy a Corvette or you go buy a Lamborghini or something, say even just a convertible, typically it's a flashy color. So to me, those are typically more sports cars, driven faster and stuff like that. So that's why I would think that.
That normally means you turned 50.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're right.
Because you have to have a red Corvette, or a red Firebird, or a red something.
Yeah, or a white Miata. You know who I mean? That's right.
You did. Okay, now we have another one.
All right, what you got?
All right. Do you need to warm your car up in the morning?
I think that, well, there again, it goes back to what kind of car you have. If you have a 80, well, say anything carbureted, yes, I think you do have to warm it up. But today's cars, they're designed to hop in it and go. Literally, just crank it up, drop it, and drive and go.
Yeah.
Now, personal preference, no, I let everything warm up just because in my mind, the oil's getting to the top of the engine, everything's kind of getting to speed. It's just a personal preference.
Well, if that part, I've thought about that a little bit, the oil getting to the top of the engine. And, of course, when oil was like 20 W50, that was absolutely true because it took a little bit to get it up there. But now with the oil being in like 5 W30, in some cases 0.20 or 0.10, then it gets up there pretty much immediately on there. And also the cars now, they for instance, the Prius that I drive. Now in the mornings I cut it on. Now when you first cut it on, it's in electric mode.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance to let it warm up because I'll give it the gas and it'll go a little ways on electrical current, and then boom, it'll crank up.
But I think because the hybrid system, of course, obviously has a cooling system, and the engine has a cooling system. The hybrid system heats up very quickly because that's what gives you the heat, just about instantly. So I think that is kind of waking it up, but I see what you're saying. Of course, the gasoline engine hasn't cranked up.
Yeah,
at that
the
point.
engine, when it cranks up, it's just immediate, and you're already driving. You're already going up a hill. So I think on modern cars, I agree. There's no need in letting them warm up. I still, for whatever reason, it takes you a second or two to put your seatbelt on anyway. So what I do a lot of times is I'll go ahead and crank the vehicle up and then put my seatbelt on, make sure the mirrors are good. And by the time you do that, probably 5-10 seconds have gone by.
Yeah.
Plenty enough time. Put it in gear and take on off.
Like you said, it's just a preference. I mean, I do it just maybe more habit forming than anything, and that's probably the real
everybody
reason.
wants to do a little something special for their
it makes my truck feel good.
Their vehicle, it makes it feel good. Okay, so as far as right now, we would count that one as a myth. Is that correct?
Depending on your model, yes.
Yeah, depending on your model. If it's an older model vehicle. Okay, now we will cover another one. Are bigger or larger vehicles safer in an accident?
I don't believe so. I mean, there's definitely some that have the very best crash ratings, but typically they're judged in their own categories. Obviously that's what we used to joke about. Subaru was the top in this and this and this in their category. Well, they're their only thing in their category, so of course it was top. But yeah, I think there are some that are very, very safe, but I think as far as some collisions, if you compared the same collision, a small car would fall in the same line with the SUV.
That's what I think. I think that's another one of those items that
Gray
goes
areas.
back to years ago.
Yeah,
it was true. A large vehicle, you had more protection around you.
Well, that and just even the interior space, you have more space to, of course, compact.
But with the way the vehicles are built now, they're built to disintegrate. Someone looks at a vehicle now that's in an accident, and they see parts flying all off everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to do that. That's absorbing energy as
of course,
those parts are flying.
The wrinkle spots in the frame.
And the vehicles are built to wrinkle around and protect the driver in that accident. So I would say
even the steering, the column. They have collapsible columns. Some of them even have a deployment loop column to where it actually physically pulls the steering wheel, into the dash.
Yeah, because we've replaced many of those. It's been in accidents. And not to mention the knee airbags and all that. So I would say that as a general rule, that is a myth now.
Right.
Years ago, it used to be true. It is a myth now.
Well,
because
if I may interject here, we're going to go back to
we have no choice but to let you. So go ahead.
High school physics class. Just talking about conservation of energy and all of that. You've got, we'll say we got two vehicles. You got a Ford Fiesta and a Chevy Silverado. Just throw some cars out there. there's going to be a lot less of an impact if you have two Ford Fiestas running into each other at 50 miles an hour than
Of course.
if you have two Silverados running into each other at 50 miles an hour.
Right. I agree.
So I think it also depends on, what you hit.
Well, that's why I mentioned, if it was the same crash, if you're hitting a wall at 50 miles an hour versus, the same two vehicles, I think there are some vehicles that today would have about the same crash rating.
Yeah. And if you drive a 70 miles an hour on the Fiesta and hit a Silverado going 50.
Yeah, different scenario.
Different scenario entirely.
So in a lot of cases, it would depend on what type car also, what type large car, what type small car, and exactly how large you're talking about. I mean, if you got like a logging truck,
of course,
and a small car, there's nothing else. There's nothing that can help.
Right.
But in many cases, they are built safer. Okay, it is time to take a real quick break, and we'll return. We'll mention our tech tip quiz one more time. We'll have some more fact or fiction. And if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you can give us a call. And that number is 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And we'll be back shortly with more of the CNC Auto Show.
Well, if I had money, I'd tell you what I'd do. I'd go downtown, buy a Mercury or two, crazy about a Mercury.
Back with you on the CNC Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, give us a call, 706-863-5800. That's 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And if you have a gas engine, you can bet it has spark plugs. And if it has plugs, they'll eventually need to be replaced. I recommend you replace those plugs along with any other items that it may need at that time, when they're needed, when the manufacturer calls for it. And also, I recommend NGK spark plugs. They're great plugs, and you can get them at Napa Auto Parts. They're designed to give you the performance needed in modern cars, and they also last. That's NGK plugs from Napa. And John Ryan, where are we going?
Next up's Jimmy.
Fantastic. Jimmy, welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Thank you. Good to talk with you again. I have a 2003 Ranger, and my question is, first, I don't drive this truck very often. In fact, a tank of gas might last me 3 months or longer.
Wow.
Do I need to be putting any additives in that tank to keep the methanol from
separating
water in my tank?
Yeah, Jimmy, that definitely wouldn't be a bad idea on that scenario. It sounds like a truck that what you just use for like Lowe's trips and stuff like that. Not very often.
Well, the truck only has 57,000 miles total on it.
Gotcha.
And my new job, I'm driving a dump truck for an asphalt company, and I drive it back and forth home. My pickup may sit a week or two and not even move.
Right. Yeah, I think you would benefit from that, Jimmy. A product that we would typically use is the BG ethanol kit. It does two things. One, it actually is a chemical that makes the water molecules bond with the fuel molecules to where it can actually be burned through the system. So that it kind of traps the moisture in and, of course, gets it out of the tank. And then the other side of the kit, like I said, it's a two-part kit, is actually an injector cleaner. Now, you wouldn't have to use it every 3 months or anything like that, but a kit every 6 months in that scenario, since you're leaving your vehicle parked, would not be a bad idea at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My next question is kind of slapped me on the back of the hand for doing it. I went 3 years between an oil change. I only put 4,000 miles on the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Should I go ahead and do another quick oil change after about 500 miles just to clean anything that might have built up in it out?
Now, you're saying you've already had the oil change since that 3 year period?
Yes, sir.
He's just wondering if he should do his next one
earlier.
early just to see.
Yeah, I don't know, Jimmy. It should be fine.
Yeah.
Definitely, of course it happens. I mean, you can forget stuff like that, and it happens easily. 3 years is a bit much, but getting it changed out, and of course all the, there's moisture and stuff that builds up in the upper end of the engine, and of course, really the best thing that would help that vehicle is just periodically start it and make sure you let it reach full operating temperature when you start it.
Yeah, run for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, about 30 minutes, whether it be idling or find one purpose to drive the truck, weekly or something like that.
And I change the oil every couple of years too now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I thought about it. I checked the oil, and I said, man, it's been a long time. I looked at the little sticker on the windshield, and it had been 3 years, but it was like 4,000 miles in 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somebody put a good sticker on there though for
you to be able to read it.
Yeah, because
The ink had pretty much faded, but when they pushed in with their pen, they kind of made an indentation, and you could still read the marking.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And that'd be a tip to everybody out there. If you look up at your oil sticker and
you can't read it,
the ink is faded, and you think you see something that says 2016 or 17 in there, it's time.
That's
you
right.
Just go ahead and say it's ready.
I thought y'all would get a little kick out of that oil change.
Yeah.
But it's good to talk with y'all. I love your program. I listen all the time.
Jimmy, thank you very much. And
You're welcome. Y'all have a good day.
You too. And people like Jimmy calling is what makes it fun for us, because that's what we like. Okay, now we have another one, John Ryan.
What you got?
Here it is. All right. Does filling your gas tank in the morning get you more fuel?
I don't really know the answer to that. I've always heard filling it up at night, but I imagine morning would be the same thing.
Well, I think that a lot of it has to do with temperature.
Temperature, right? Yeah.
That you have. Now, this is one I would take a few minutes, because I'm just starting. We might even need Dominic to kind of shed some light in here.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, the fuel is cooler, it's condensed down, so you would get more in the tank, but you're not saving any money. It's not something that you're going to get at a lower price, because it's still coming out.
Which I agree with that, but the fuel in the ground typically is more of a stable temperature.
Yeah, you're right there. What's in the ground is the same.
Yeah.
But that cooler fuel, with it being in the ground and coming out.
So was the question, are you getting more?
Well, I mean, if you're going into a tank and it's hot, and the tank's hot and the fuel's going in and expanding a little bit, you would not get as much fuel, because it would be slightly expanded. Now,
no, you would be. I would think. Okay, so a hot tank could be slightly larger to me. Wouldn't you think?
Yes,
it's expanded.
No, but the fuel would be expanded, because when it goes in, it's going to be hot, and it's going to expand.
I don't know, man.
We need an engineer to call, and they'll help us with the answer to this.
There you go.
Okay. We also need an answer to our tech tip quiz, so we're going to go ahead and give
I know. I can't answer the tech tip quiz. I have the answer for this one.
Yeah, you do. Okay. Here we go. The fire chief of Lexington, Kentucky had a Ford Crown Vic. He had an unusual problem. It would run hot when driving slowly through neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It did well at idle and above 40. One day, in an effort to save a cat from a fire, one of his men threw the cat out of a 2-story burning building, and the fire chief ran over there to catch the cat, to keep it from hitting the hood of his car, and he saved the cat and discovered what was wrong with the car.
Right there in front of it.
Yeah,
huh?
Right there. Yeah, and he knew.
And the building was burning, smoking, and all that stuff?
Yeah, yep. You sound like you're trying to throw some hints out there.
What you talking about?
It does sound like that. Okay, so if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you give us a call. That number 706-863-5800. That's 805-10. Give us a call. If you have a myth that you're wondering about,
right,
then give us a call and share the myth with us. Okay, we talked. One of the things that we talked a little bit about before, and I do want to expand on that just a little bit, because to me it's a very, very important subject. Has to do with the with fuel. We've been talking about different types of fuel on there. And one of the things that I thought about was the different brands of fuel.
That's something that I've always been interested in. Be honest, I haven't done much research on it, but to me, I feel like there could be a difference as far as efficiency with a different brand.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
And again, I don't know the right words for it, but I do feel like the brands do have something to do with it.
Because there are additives, and there are differences.
That's what I was going to say, the additive package, So it could have more detergent than, something in it.
Exactly. So. That's what I'm saying. And some refineries may do a little bit better job than
We got
others.
like 40 seconds left.
Let's do it.
I'm just going to put Butch on there.
Okay. Hey, Butch, welcome to the CNC Auto Show. What can we help with?
I want to answer the quiz.
Oh, man, we need somebody to answer our
Here.
quiz. And what is the answer? We're ready.
Okay, you ready? Okay.
We're ready.
Whenever the chief ran over to catch the cat, he bent over and he saw something in front of his radio that was restricting airflow.
Keep going with that. What else? Think now.
Well, we got somebody else on the line. You think?
That's all I know.
All right.
Restricting airflow.
That was a very, very good try, though.
Let's
all
try
right.
Danny.
Hey, Danny, welcome to the show. What can we help with?
Give you a trivial question.
You got to do it real quick. Here we go, on stage.
I think he gets a paper bag or something, stop either plastic, stopping airflow to the radiator.
Oh, doggone! Both are so close.
We're gonna have to keep this one till next week.
I tell you what, we might have to do. We may even post this one on Facebook. So.
I'll say they were getting there though.
Yeah, they were very, very close. Okay, but the thing is, it's our time clock's on E. We need to pull over for now, but we'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Eric Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. Our show producers are Dominic Frito, Sandy Klein, our technical engineer, Zach Llewellyn. We'd all like to say thank you to all you that tuned in, logged in, and especially those that called in to ride with us on the CNC Auto Show.